Quaid Azam, Part 429. Together with convexed together with overextended lines of communication, together with overextended lines of communication, logistical, page 21, difficulties and the exhaustion of the resources, especially Jagirs, to sustain an expanded and increasingly unproductive and ineffective army, and bureaucracy, the inability to accommodate southern political elites, helped to account for the Mughal failure in the south and ultimately in the subcontinent. Ironically, British racial arrogance contributed to their superficial but comprehensive acceptance of the Indian heterogeneity. All Indians became natives and inferior species distinguished by a wide variety of esoteric and for most abhorrent beliefs and practices. The instrumental and institutional variables that accounted for a viable state in India included centralized fiscal and administrative mechanisms in the hands of the crown, patrimonial bureaucracies barred from the control over the means of administration and from appropriation, inheritance of office and estates, and military formations controlled by the crown rather than by feudal lords or independent military entrepreneurs. The Indian nationalist movement lent a sense of commonality to the separate communities of the subcontinent. The Mughals had utilized a variable mixture of direct and indirect rule, relatively direct in areas such as Gujarat and Awadh, and indirect in the Rajputana, where the local rulers retained considerable autonomy. The similarities and differences in Mughal and British ideas about these state-society relations can be seen in their contrasting policies vis-a-vis rulers in Rajputana, whose North Indian regional kingdoms both sought to dominate Mughal rulers, attempted to impose upon Rajput kingdoms a centralized Jagir system and establish asymmetrical bonds of loyalty between themselves and Rajput Rajas comparable to those that integrated master-servant relationship at the center. Centralized hierarchical relations characteristics of the Mughal state stood in marked contrast to the relations within Rajput kingdoms. Decentralization and horizontal bonds of a clan and lineage, brotherhoods, and sustained relatively symmetrical relations between rulers and the greater and lesser noble subjects. Maharajas stood above their brothers within the dynastic clans, but did so as representatives of the clan's senior lineages. Over time, Rajput rulers emulated Mughal ideas and practice by trying to remodel their relations with their clan brothers into a more hierarchical master-servant connection. Their noble response capitulated their own resistance to Mughal claims, that is, variable compliance punctuated by sporadic revolts. Despite the common use of the prevailing Persian terms, Mughal and the Rajputs' language usage evokes the contrasting perspective of the empire and the regional kingdom. Mughal patrimonial bureaucrats and chronicles use the terms of Mansabdar or Jagirdar to designate regional or local officials, and Mansab Jagir or Watan Jagir for estates, terms that made clear that offices and lands were granted in support of the state service and held at the emperor's pleasure. Rajput rulers use the terms of Raja, ruler, Zamindar, local lord, and Desh, Raj, Vatan, or Mulk, a ruler's hereditary homeland. Desh, Raj, Vatan, or Mulk, to express their sense of independence with respect to the authority and land. If the Mughal emperors thought of Rajput rulers as Mansabdar, military and civil officials, dispensable servants depended for their post and prerequisites on imperial will, The British thought of Rajput lords as feudal landed aristocracy, vassals of the Queen Empress. They were meant to be at the same time a governing class with rights and obligations.